Yeah, get ready, get set, grow. Oop, that's what we're doing today. Maybe you want a little background there, a little encouragement. So last week we were treated to this beautiful analogy of the process of growing into our full potential and the sometimes painful experience of change, of releasing things that just, are no longer serving us. The butterfly, as Pat Webster demonstrated for us, for those of you who saw that, really demonstrated the whole process. It is just a prime example of that kind of metamorphosis. The complete destruction of the old, and the recreation of something brand new in the stillness and in the darkness. And that long process of emerging, of that butterfly emerging, and seems to us, so painful as it kind of struggles to free itself from that chrysalis, but of course, struggle is our word. That's our interpretation. It may not be the experience of the butterfly. In fact, as Pat pointed out, that process of working through the chrysalis is the thing that the butterfly needs to strengthen its wings so that it can fly. And, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about when I first moved to North Carolina and we went out to the beach. I think it was the Outer Banks, or it could have been Bald Head Island. But the kids were younger, and we saw a turtle boil. Does anybody know what that is? It's a weird word, turtle boil. It refers to when the baby hatchling turtles they all hatch at once, and they're all crawling on top of each other. It looks like the sand is boiling, so I guess that's where it comes from. So we witness this. Anybody else witness that? It is something. So the mother turtle goes way up on the beach and digs its hole, digs into the sand and lays its eggs. And then it leaves. Sort of go, okay, I'm free now. I've done my work. Okay. And I don't know how many weeks later, all of those eggs begin to hatch. And they all come out, and they're so cute. These little things, there's so many of them, and they're crawling over each other, and they're trying to get out of the hole. And then they use their little paddle arms to move through, and they're awkward, and they're all over each other, and they're trying to get all the way from way up on the beach to the water. And it feels like they're struggling through the sand to get there. And all the while, there are birds of prey that are circling and watching and waiting to swoop down and grab a meal, right? So you just want to take these little things and go, let me help you, baby. Let me bring you over here to the water. But you can't. Because if you did, that turtle would not develop the strength in its arms that it needs to swim when it gets to the water. And you can wave off all of the birds of prey, but then they don't eat. Whenever we interfere with Mother Nature, we mess it up, don't we? Yeah. There is wisdom there that we're not always aware of, that we don't always understand. And that same wisdom is within us. It's within us. We instinctively know when it's time to release old thinking, old beliefs, old patterns, old ways of being. We instinctively know when it's time to emerge from our cocoon and spread our wings, grow and spread our wings. And it may not be apparent to us consciously, we may not get it consciously, but we could get a clue if, we're going through a period in our life when we're feeling restless or bored or depressed or anxious, or we feel like, God, there's just got to be something more. or we feel like, what we've been doing is just not working anymore. Then we get a clue. And if we listen to that, we might discover a new possibility. So we want to dive into that and explore that possibility. Really kind of take a look. What is it? What does it look like? What is there for me? What's trying to emerge? And, the visioning process is really good for this. And I have, in many past talks, I've talked about the visioning process. We've actually done some visioning here together. There's some of you who have been here for a while. I think next week I'll talk about it again because I know there's a lot of new people, and we'll explore that whole idea of visioning. But again, in the meantime, we can get a clue of something happening, of a new possibility, if we're getting a sense that it's something that gives us a sense of an expansion, an expanded sense of self. Or if it feels uncomfortable, if we think about moving into that new possibility, if it's uncomfortable, if it scares the bejesus out of us, if it feels like it's totally out of our reach, then we know we're onto something. We know we're onto something. Now, here's the thing. You can't get there from where you are right now, as long as you're holding on to old ways of being. Right? Many people try to reach for that new possibility without first shedding old skin, releasing old ways of thinking, old ways of being. They try to reach the new possibility with old consciousness. Isn't that what the master teacher Jesus warned us not to do? You can't put new wine in old wineskins. Why? Because those, they carried them around in these goatskin bags, the wine, and if it got old, it would crack and leak. Well, that makes sense, right? So it is hard to grow into a more joyous and expansive life while we're holding on to constrictive thinking. So we'll either not reach this new possibility, or we will, but we'll sabotage it when we get there. Which is why a lot of people who win the lottery, very often in 5 years, they've lost everything. They're back down to where they were before because they didn't release that old poverty consciousness. They were trying to go for this without shifting the thinking. And it is our consciousness. It is our consciousness and our subconsciousness, really, that gives rise to our experience in life. It really, I think even more so, it's the universe reflects back to us not necessarily what we're thinking, but what we feel we're worthy of. Right? What we feel we are worthy of. Which is why it is so important to identify old beliefs, old subconscious patterns, old ways of being. It is absolutely vital for our growth. So I'm going to ask you, how many of you are you doing the exercise 2 weeks ago? I gave you in the program, there was a handout, right, and a journal that had some journal prompts, some questions, right? They're right there, yeah. And here, Maria's holding them up back there. If you missed that day, there's also some questions, that handout there. If you missed it or you lost it or something, then please at the end of the service go and pick it up on your, or hand it out now, sure. Thank you. Right, yeah. But do it, Do the work. is so important. Now, how many of you have signed up for Reverend Nikki's class, the self-awareness class? Ooh. Okay, there's one smart lady back there. Yeah. What about the rest of you? What about those of you online? Would you please put it in the chat if you signed up for this? I'm really surprised that more people have not signed up for this class. Is it 1 o'clock?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. I think it's on the program, so you know the time. This self-awareness class is set up to support you in this whole process of identifying these subconscious things that are holding you back from the process of growing into the full potential, the fullness of life, right? This is where you get supported. And if not that class, the spiral dynamics class, is a really good one where Reverend Pat Venema is teaching that class. That'll help. I can stand here and share, from what my experience is, and hopefully it's inspiring. Hopefully you can take something home and chew on it. But if you want to transform, if you want to experience a transformation, you got to do the work. You got to apply the ideas you're hearing in your life and do the actual work to release these old things so that you can allow that thing that wants to emerge in your soul to emerge, to become the fullness of who you are. Frankly, it's the difference between a lot of traditional religions and New Thought. I don't want to overgeneralize, but, in a lot of traditional churches, they kind of tell you what to think, and you take it in. You're not really allowed to ask a lot of questions because that would be doubting your faith, right? So in New Thought, we want you to ask questions. We want you to use your brain and to think and to consciously and to work these things through, right? Because it's in the working through of it that you get to investigate everything we're complicated beings. There's a lot going on. We want to become aware of it and work through it so that we can clear out anything that might be holding us back. So that's the difference. So for my experience, what I can share about this process for me of identifying, releasing, and then allowing more to emerge, it's many times. I've gone through many metamorphoses in my life. Maybe you have too, right? You're like how many people are a completely different person than they were 30 years ago? Yeah, you're in a completely different place. You've got to go through a process, right? So when I decided to go to seminary and become a minister, I had to release a lot of old ideas about who I thought I was. Who I thought I was capable of, what I thought was possible for me. And certainly I had to release the old voice that was inside of me that says, who do you think you are? You're no spiritual master, which my kids would also echo. Any chance they got, they would echo that. So I had a lot of work to do. And releasing that old idea and releasing a lot of just past baggage and things that were really getting in the way. And I remember at the end of that second year, we had this annual retreat, a week-long retreat, where it was an intensive, and you all had to be there, and we were all in a big room, and they asked us to do a forgiveness exercise where we were to forgive our parents. Well, I had already done that. I had been at this for a while. I had done all that work. So, I thought, okay, I'll do this. Well, my God, was I surprised. I discovered a whole layer there that I was completely unaware of was there, that was holding this stuff. it was so important to recognize that and forgive and release. And after that, I felt, oh, I could breathe. I could open to the possibility. I could feel spaciousness and more love and more lightness of being, you know? It's so important. And then, you know, so here's the process for me, is that I identify the ideas, the thoughts, the beliefs, the unconscious patterns, and then I consciously work through them, you know, through journaling or just contemplating and thinking, is this the truth about me? Is this what I think I'm worthy of? Is this really right? Is this, you know, does this fit in my life anymore? You know, so consciously working through them and then energetically releasing it. Energetically releasing it. So I did a lot of crying, a lot of releasing tears, a lot of running. I'm physical. I want to, you know, go out and run in the trails, and where I used to live, we were trails right in the forest. I would go run. And then after kind of that, I got into a more contemplative place where I came here and walked the labyrinth. And, ooh, that was pivotal for me. So we really must get the whole self involved. Spirit, mind, and body. Look, every layer of our being, every level of our being is engaged when these things are formed, right? So every level of our being needs to be engaged in the release of it. So let's sort of do this together right now, if you would. All right, so let's say that you've done the work of identifying at least something. I think you could probably think of something. Does anybody not have something, some old limiting belief that they would like to release, that you know of, right? Everybody's got something. All right. Things that would hold you back, right? And so what you want to do is spend some time thinking about it, journaling it, going through, consciously aware, and connect with your inner wisdom and allow the inner wisdom to speak to you. Is this really true of me? Has this ever been true of me? Does this still fit into where I want to? Is this holding me back? Is this preventing me from growing into the self that I know is possible for me? Is this what I think I'm worthy of? Is there more? Right? Identify that. And then you want to connect with your inner power. The power of power. This is your spiritual authority. And it might be right here. Bring your attention right here. This is at the throat chakra. This is where our power of self-authority is. And when your focus is here, from the awareness that you are, because you are an expression of the infinite divine, you have the power to create your universe. Right? You have that power. So engage this. Engage the spiritual authority, this power of power. And affirm, with that full power, affirm the release of any limiting ideas, any unloving thoughts, any self-criticism, any old patterns, any resentments, any fears, any old ideas of what you thought you were worthy of. Affirm the release of that. And then you want to breathe it out. Maybe make a sound, right? And shake it out. Okay, so we'll do this together. If you want to stand up, if you can. If not, you can do it from your seat. Okay, just focus right now on something that you want to release. Put your focus here on your throat chakra. This is the full power. You are a co-creator in your world, right? So engage this self-authority, and we're going to affirm the release. So affirm with me. I release any and all limiting beliefs. I release any and all limiting beliefs. I release any resentment, any fears. I release any resentment and any fears. I release anything that is holding me back from being my full self. I release anything that is holding me back from being my full self. Okay, now, breathe it out, and you might want to shake a little or move through your hands and in and out. Ooh. Okay, breathe in. You feel a sense of spaciousness, right? There's space now for spirit. There's space for spirit. There's space for more of an awareness of that new possibility that is seeking to emerge through and as you. And open to that space. Keep breathing and go ahead and sit down. Now you might want to do this, as many times as you feel is necessary. You may, this was new and you're in public, you may not, if you're home by yourself, you might feel a little freer to, really let go and do it, right? And then get physical. Go for a walk in nature, honestly. That just really, there's something really healing about that, right? Be in nature and healing. And then when you feel it energetically releasing, then you're ready to start opening to that idea that spirit has, right? And walking the labyrinth here is so wonderful, or the medicine wheel, right? Or the Serenity Trail. We have so many resources here that are here, free, available for you. And everybody resonates with something, unique. Some people resonate with the medicine wheel, some people with the labyrinth, some people with just walking the trails. So you want to find what works for you and do that, right? And then next week, we're going to talk about building that new consciousness. Now that there's space, there's a level playing field, an open playing field. We're going to start exploring that new vision that wants to be birthed and building new consciousness, which is we're building the muscles, right? We're building spiritual muscles here. All of this is about building the spiritual muscles that is essential for us to be able to spread our wings and soar. Right? Namaste.